Hello, everybody. It's Christine and Laurie here, and we have a great question for you. Do you use creativity as a key component in your day and in your life?
Welcome to episode 3 of 4. This is our 4-part series, and today we're talking about cultivating creativity as a pathway to heal. And heal, we both love as an acronym for, so the H would be for health, the E would be for ease, A is for abundance, and L is for love.
Mm, love that. Love that, Laurie.
Yeah.
So we have problems around our creativity, don't we? And we're going to chat about that.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. Perfect. So I love, and we talked a little bit before we got started, one thing I would love to hear you talk about is we don't really get that creativity is part of our life force, right? It's what drives us. It's part of what beats our heart. Would you?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy that created life is creative in nature, and we're a microcosm of that larger macrocosmic creative life force. And
Mhm.
the impulse of that life force is creative expression. So when people say, "Oh, I'm not creative," it's actually not true. It may be true that they haven't developed that muscle, but that energy, that creative life force, is literally beating our hearts and pumping our blood
Mm.
and causing these words to come out of our mouth right now as we're talking.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I think that's a key thing, yeah, to understand. So, and I'm going to weave in, and I know you will too, like part of my journey, right, with creativity. And I definitely see phases in my life. And again, I think this is a lot of the people watching is that maybe we tapped into that when we were younger and kind of more playful. But as adults, we've gotten into this do lifestyle, right? And we've kind of shut down our creativity, which is down here in our heart, and we're living again from our head up. So we don't even see creativity maybe as a valuable tool because we've been taught to think and to strategize and to plan, and that's where we get our results versus tapping into our creativity.
Exactly. And having it's like having a relationship with our creativity. And I know, I was one of those people, like I hear all day long, and I don't know if this was your experience, but well, we all have as children versions of creativity. Children don't have that sort of beat out of them yet. And then there's this big chunk of time, before we as adults and in working life, and then we realize there's some people, and hopefully more and more of us are realizing, wait a minute, what is that all about? And I was one of those people who just said I couldn't even draw a stick figure, and that's like a common thing that I hear. And then I thought, it was menopause actually that brought it out of me. It was the thing. It was like a lifeboat for me in menopause, and I literally, and now I just can't stop doing it. There's something that happens when we engage in a creative process that is very it connects us to our hearts, it connects us to our radiance, it connects us to the quantum field, or the field of all possibilities. It's impossible once you start feeling it to not want more of it.
Right.
Right, and it's because I think it's who we are.
Yes, yes. And I love that you brought it back to the childhood because, I have a grandbaby now, and I can go back to my 5-year-old self, and it was all about creativity, right? And we just were connected to the little inner inspirations and to something that physically and energetically moved us that we just did, right? And we didn't really think about it. So it is in there. And again, we've, I think, been conditioned that as adults you lose that, and it's not that you lost it, it's just you're not connecting to it anymore, right? And
Yeah, it's just a little dormant and needs some
yeah.
attention. Yeah.
Well, and then too, and you mentioned it briefly, is the whole, when you talked about having the only being able to do stick figures, is I've seen a kind of this a key problem too is that as adults, we kind of define creativity maybe in the form of the arts, right? Like, I'm not a musician, or I'm not a painter, I'm not a dancer, so I'm not really creative, right? But
Right. That's so true.
creativity is in everything we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it could be so as simple as, using our own body when we get dressed in the morning as a canvas and saying, well, what color would I want on my canvas, and being intentional about it.
Yeah.
There's a whole movement about intentional creativity, and we can do, with intention and creativity, we can do so many things. I think a lot of women don't realize how potent and powerful that could be in their own lives, in simple things like setting the table, or preparing a meal, or talking to their teenager, or how they navigate through a project at work. It's everywhere,
It
this opportunity to be
everywhere.
creative.
Yes, so true. And I love that yeah, gave some examples, because I know when I started to connect back to my creativity and honor that part of me, one of the ways I love to do it was to set a beautiful table for a dinner party and have the candles and the music and the nice place settings. And that brought me so much joy when I just connected in, like, what would create a beautiful setting, right? And
Right.
what does that look like to me? It allowed those creative things to bubble back up. So
Right. And
um,
again, that's natural, it's inborn, and it's innate in every human being. And we tap it through our heart center.
so true.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so one of the other problems I've seen, and want to have a conversation about this with you, is luxury. We tend to look, women, will tend to look at being creative, or taking time to work in that element of creativity is a luxury.
Right.
And I think it's the opposite, right? Like,
Agreed.
it's a necessity, right? Because of, whether it's because it's innate in you or whatever, and it saves time. It doesn't cause more time. It saves time, and it actually allows you to have more ease. When you talked about the HEAL acronym, right? So you feel more ease and joy, and things unfold in a more fluid way when you tap into your creativity.
Totally. And we all need that. You said the word necessity. I think it's actually a time saver. What's interesting about creativity is it's very similar. The results that happen in a human body, and a human brain, and a human heart, and in a human life are very similar to the results that happen in meditation. There's a lot of research on that. And so the same thing happens when people think about, oh, I don't have time to meditate. They'll say, I don't have time. But if you just take a little chunk of time, then
Right.
you realize that the return on investment of that time is so much greater than the little time it takes to do it. And the same is true with creativity, in my experience, and everyone else who's been participating in research around it, is it opens up so many more possibilities, solutions, healing. In my view, we need as much creativity in the world, in human consciousness now, as we can get, because we need those solutions. We need to start doing things different and in more
Right.
elevated, and when I say elevated, I mean in more loving ways that work for humanity, let alone our own lives. So that does not fall under the category of luxury to me.
Oh,
Like
no.
you said, it totally falls under the need of necessity.
Right. Exactly. Beautiful. Okay, so I think another key problem is, and we love to start out with that, talking about what are some of those problems that we experience in tapping into and owning our creativity, and really kind of painting this picture, is that, and this was again a big one for me, is I judged my creative impulses when I got them, and I would say, oh, where's that going to go? I'm really not that good at this particular thing, so what kind of the why bother, or the not knowing where it's going to go. So maybe I shouldn't even
Well,
acknowledge this
yeah.
creative bother. I shouldn't bother. Right. So, what's your thoughts and perspectives on that?
Yeah, I think that's part and parcel, especially if it's something that we do that's new. We just feel a little awkward, and it feels wobbly. And adults don't tend to like that feeling, but you'll notice kids don't really care. Sorry, I have this hair that's tickling me. Kids don't really care. They just go for it. They scribble, they color out of the lines, and they have no judgment about it. To
Right.
them, it's the experience of that energy of creativity that's in them to come out, pouring out of them in whatever form they're going to play with. And so it's definitely a practice to soften our kind of tendency to judge and be critical of whatever it is we're doing. I had a spiritual, one of my creativity teachers once say that her thoughts were that our criticism, our internal criticism, was unused, untapped creativity sort of turned upside down. So what I can say, and I think you have this experience too, Christine, is that the more you allow it without being so overly concerned about the outcome, but rather just letting the process of being in a creative experience be the thing that is the gift, right? Rather than the outcome. Then you start realizing that the self-criticism parts kind of calm down, soften, get less in their voicing.
Yes.
It's probably always going to still be there, but it doesn't have to run the show.
Right. I love that. So two thoughts, and I'll see if I can remember them both. The judgment, right? And like that knowing, we want to know where it's going to go. So we creativity requires you live in the unknown,
right?
And just let it unfold, right? And to be with whatever, however it comes up as is the perfect way, right? And I think again that kind of counteracts with what we've been conditioned to, which is we need to get it right. We need to be, aware of time. We need to be aware of budget. We need to be aware of what all these things are.
Outcome,
Yes, outcome. So again, we're the focus is definitely on that outcome, and then so the second point is when you talked about just being in the process, right? And how we it's that surrendering, right? And we're not used to being in that place of surrender and that place of openness to let it unfold and to enjoy the journey. And I use that term all the time. The joy is in the journey. It's not in the destination, right? And I think we tend to, again, cut ourselves short because we're so focused on where we're getting that we're missing out on the whole adventure of the journey. And creativity, when we tap into that, allows us to have that adventure along the way and be surprised by what inspiration comes out of us, to be surprised and to be grateful for the wisdom that we have in us. We're missing out on all of that when we shut down our creativity.
It's true. And one of the things that's been consistent in our episodes is this idea between our mind and our heart. And it's not like it's one or the other. They're not vying for, against each other. But one thing that tends to happen is that when the mind takes over, that's when we know that we're being more critical and judgmental, and we want a specific outcome, and we want to see all the steps ahead of us. And that's how the mind operates. But when we drop our awareness into our heart, then we can have the adventure. We can be in curiosity, and we can be in wonder, and we can just play with color, and we can color out of the lines, and we can just say, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm just having this experience. And that thing that we just said right there is actually what creates a relationship with our life force. It creates a relationship with our divinity, because creativity and we access that through our heart. Like our heart is like a portal for that. That's what gives us a real connection with the part of ourselves that we're all aching for. And we're not going to get it from our mind alone. We definitely have to drop into our heart. And in my view, creativity is like one of the most enjoyable ways to cultivate that relationship. It's like a date every time with my higher intelligence, my higher life.
Right. Yeah. Beautifully said. Well, and kind of, I think taking it one step from that is, our mind is 5%, right? Our brain is 5, or what we think is 5. And then we've got 95% is in that subconscious. So, and part of that subconscious is the old stories and beliefs, but it's also, again, that what we tap into at those deeper levels by connecting to our heart. Yes. And
it's like when we engage in a creative process, it's like it bypasses the gates of the mind, and it can reach into those kind of deeper places, those more unconscious places.
Yeah.
And it's why, and this is all based in research, right? Like image and symbol and words and color, and all of these elements of creativity help access those parts of ourselves that we can't get to in the 5% of our conscious
Right.
thinking mind,
Not just
right?
thinking, right. Yeah.
And that, last time we were together, we were talking about our emotional alchemy. And creativity is one of the best ways that I know of to compost our old emotions
Mhm.
and have them be transformed and healed into a more serving, higher energy form for us, rather than the lower dense energies that emotions can trap us into, or it feels
Right.
like we're trapped.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Definitely.
So I think that can lead into just doing that a quick recap on what do we truly desire? What does our heart desire? What does our essence desire, in this whole picture related to creativity into our life? And being whole, we talked, this will be a thread through all of the sessions, right? But we desire at a deep level to be whole, to have joy and ease, and to be radiant in our life, to have a life of fulfillment and joy. And we do that, as we've, I think, beautifully painted,
Mhm.
through, one key way is through tapping into our creativity, and yeah, really owning that part of our natural essence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's hard for me to imagine myself or any human being, because I don't think we're all that different really when it comes to it. I don't know how to access my wholeness, however imperfect it is. I'm not talking about perfection here. I'm just talking about the experience of wholeness. And
Mm.
actually, I heard someone say that way we can understand what wholeness means is it's like an integration of feeling good in our body, of having expression, of having our needs met, abundance and good flowing in our life, and having love connections, right?
Right.
Again, the acronym for heal. And when all those are integrated, and maybe even dancing in a good way,
Yeah.
then we have what the experience of wholeness. And there's not a human being on the planet who doesn't reach for that.
Right.
Like
Right.
everything we do is to try to find that in ourselves. And so I made a decision, 15 years ago. I'm just going straight to the bullseye, and that for me was creativity.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah. I definitely have seen, as I've reconnected to that innate desire in myself to bring my callings to life, right? To act on my inner inspiration. Um, there is definitely that connection of peace, with the peace and joy, and opening to even bigger possibilities through it,
Right.
right?
A
So
fuller life.
yeah,
Yeah.
fuller life. And I think, yeah, again, we all at our core, even if we're not consciously aware of it, desire to really be fulfilled in life and to be whole,
Mhm.
like you said, to have that wholeness. I don't want to, overemphasize it, but creativity is definitely the way to get us there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the good ways in
A
my
good
view.
thing. Right.
I heard years ago that the essence of life is love, and the expression of life is beauty. And I know that our heart honors beauty immensely, right? And so it's almost like a divine, um oh, how can I say that? It's like accessing that part of our heart when we explore creativity. And again, this does not have to mean that you have to run out and become a painter or a sculptor, or
Right.
it's just bringing a creative view, a creative perspective to everything you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you want to say more on
Yeah, no, no,
that.
that's perfect.
And that causes a relationship with our divinity. I know I already said that, but just to reiterate that point. And
Right.
so, did you want to say more on
No,
that perspective?
well, I think, just maybe one step further is the I'm all about like shifting, right? Like, how have you been living your life? Is it getting you the result you desire at a deeper level, or not? And what types of radiant shifts can you make, and which are really shifts in perspective and the paradigm shift. So, one, I invite all of our listeners and, viewers to take is to shift that perspective regarding creativity, and to shift into creativity as a cornerstone in their life as again, part of their essence, and to honor that in themselves, and just be surprised by where it takes them.
And it doesn't have to be dramatic. It just a subtle change, like I think they've done some experiments on this. Like if someone is facing this way and they just make the subtlest little change, it changes their view, it changes their point of view and their perspective.
Yes.
And I would encourage people, I invite listeners and viewers to just play with this. Don't make it a big deal. Play with it. Let it be like a treasure hunt. Like, what's my unique version of creativity in my life? It isn't going to be the same as anyone else's, really. There might be little overlaps, but really you're looking for your own expression and your own creative juice, to play with in all the pockets and all the crevices and cracks of your life that are yours.
Absolutely.
And that makes a difference, not only in your life, but in the world.
Oh, of course, yes. Because when you change your life, you are. It's a ripple effect. It's such
It's
a
a ripple effect. The butterfly effect. Exactly.
so I love that you said it doesn't have to be a big thing, right? So, I encourage, we people, and I know we had this conversation beforehand, is to um, even look at how you build your schedule, right? So if you're running from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, you are not allowing time for the creative stuff to bubble up. And so maybe it's giving yourself 30 minutes between meetings where you can sit back and reflect on, because creativity can bubble up when you're in reflection, right? Like, how did that work? How did that go? And what might I do different next time? Coming at everything you do, which is a key point I want to really get across, is with curiosity and wonder, right?
Exactly.
Instead of how can or why, put I wonder in front of it. Like, I
Uh-huh.
wonder how I can get this done. I wonder what approach. I wonder who I can call. I wonder. It shifts something, and I won't even try and explain it scientifically, but it shifts something in your brain.
Totally does.
It could
Absolutely.
to open you up to possibilities versus this linear approach of it's got to be the next perfect answer. And
Yeah.
and this was something that was hugely transformative in my mind, and helped to really shift me out of that think and into the openness and the playfulness of everything's possible, and let those creative impulses, ideas, hits, that
Mhm.
come out in a more fluid, open way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. I think that wonder and curiosity is so huge. And I've actually kept inquiry journals for years. And when I go back and I mean, the inquiry journal is basically where I ask all my questions of higher wisdom, of the quantum field, of the universe, of source, because I don't know how to do something or I need a solution for something. So instead of locking in on the problem, I try to be living in this wonder and this curiosity. And when I go back and look in these journals, I'm stunned as to how the solution came about or unfolded. I never could have come up with that on my own. But
Right?
holding the wonder, holding the openness of my heart and the inquiry, it's magical. And so if you're someone who already has lots of time to be creative, awesome. But I don't know that there's a lot of people that fall into that category. So like what you were saying, Christine, if you just create a little bit of space and time and say things like, I wonder how I could weave more creativity into my life, into my day, into my morning, into this meeting, into whatever is coming up for you. And then looking back on it and just saying, so that was cool, or how can I do that more, that
Right.
kind of
And especially, I love it for solving problems, right? Because we tend to get so emotionally attached to a problem at times, and for it to work out a certain way. And
yes.
again, I'm speaking from experience. When I took that step back, and I actually use this a lot going through my divorce, wonder and curiosity, and I just stepped back and I had a blank piece of paper, and whatever the particular kind of maybe stuck point was in the mediation process, I backed away and I approached it with curiosity and wonder. And let me tell you, it really helped shift things, and it went through in a much more beautiful way than I would have imagined initially.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So it can be for all kinds of
yeah.
things. Like, creativity doesn't just mean, creating, again, something artistic. we said, if we have that perspective, creativity can be applied to everything we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
I love that we're expanding the definition of creativity to include
Yes.
all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all shapes and sizes. It's one of the notes that I had written down, right? So
Right.
yeah, the things from birthday parties, that was another thing that I love to do. The gardening, like how many people do we know that have had amazing gardens? A creativity to solve a world problem, or a problem that you're passionate about, right? To not get on the soapbox of judgment about, things should look a certain way, but to step back, and creativity also brings in, I think, like you said, like not just for myself, but for the goodness of mankind, right? So how can this help not just me, or be something that just serves me, but serves mankind too, and brings.
Yeah. And just day-to-day stuff too, like how can I how can I be creative around making sure that I eat healthy? almost
Yes,
almost every day, a
yes,
cheat meal here and there or whatever, but that requires a level of creativity. And so, we're really talking about a broad spectrum here of how you can be creative. And
right,
so we're inviting you. We really want to have you know that your invitation is to apply this everywhere in your life
yes.
so that you
Well, and
can
what
start.
that brings up for me is creativity is a way of being too, right? Say,
Right.
you
Yeah.
are being creative. You are
And
being
you already are.
are,
Remember that.
and then
You,
you get to activate that in how you show up in, yeah,
totally.
in your.
You're awakening a clarity and a connectivity to it that you maybe didn't have at the same level before. Yeah.
Exactly. And
And
again,
we mentioned earlier the correlation between creativity and meditation. And I just wanted to sort of sneak in here that the research is exquisitely clear on this. So both meditation and creativity tend to lower stress and lower cortisol levels, increase immune function, increase medical outcomes. So that's, when we talk about healing, like literally healing in our body, then and our emotions, then all of that is very, very clear according to research. So it's just like, why wouldn't we do that?
right. Creativity is such a beautiful gift we've been given, right? And
Mhm.
to again honor that and use that as part of who we are being, and how we show up in every day. So are you what do you think? Should we chat about maybe some obstacles that
Yeah,
people.
let's do it. Let's do it. Because I know that most people stop themselves before they even get started.
Right, exactly. So one thing that leads, I think, into what we had said previously is we've been disconnected from our creativity for so long. I think for some people it will be an obstacle to take that next step, and they may just say, I haven't been creative since I was in elementary school or high school or whatever that might be. And yeah, to overcome that, like you said before, start small. Maybe take a 10-minute block of time, and
Mhm.
we will definitely have some good calls to action. I think that will help people take that next step. But to yeah, if you're thinking I haven't done it and I for so long, that can definitely be an obstacle to get started. But don't let that stop you. Take.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you said it, don't let time be the thing that takes you out, because you'll actually, as we mentioned sort of in the beginning of this time together, is that you'll actually have a greater return on your investment of time than you can possibly realize. If time is the reason you don't do it, just notice that that's really your mind kind of taking you out before you even get started. And there's nothing wrong with starting where you are, because where you are is perfect. There's no better place to start than
There's
where
no
you are.
other place to
There
start.
is no other place, exactly. And so your wonderful thing about wonder is, even if you don't know where to start, then start with the question in your heart, I wonder where's the best place for me to start with my creativity. Right?
Exactly.
Like, that is so reasonable. And I promise you, if you've never put your hand on your heart and asked a curious question of your heart before, you will be surprised, because she always listens, and she always, guides you to where you need to have that question answered.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Which leads into the next huge obstacle, is that self-criticism and that self-judgment. Something bubbles up, and immediately we go to analyzing the value of that creative idea. Stop.
Yeah.
Right? We don't.
Right.
It's not. Not a place to analyze. It came up because that's part of what is in your intuition, your wisdom, part of whatever that gift is that's flowing through you. Play with it, test it out, try it,
Right.
and just right have that adventure of putting it into bringing it to life in whatever way it's calling to you.
Yeah. Exactly. And I used to have this thought that this critical part of ourselves, because I think all humans have it, would at some point just go away. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. So what I've taken to doing, instead of trying to push her away and then go over here to where I want to be creative, I bring her along, and I invite her in loving, inclusive ways, rather than trying to keep her away from me, because I think it's part of who we are, who I am. And so she's welcome to come along. She can't be the boss of the whole thing, but
Right.
she can come and play.
Right. We can acknowledge her, and that goes to having that conscious awareness that we have that part of us that's gonna
Right.
try and keep us safe, try and keep us in the known box. And
Right.
when we go to the creative place, it is the unknown, right? It is we're bringing something to life that we've never done before, probably, or at least not done in the way that the creative impulse arises.
Right. And that critical mind, she's going to have something to say, because it's going to feel scary to her. And just know that.
Know
Just know,
that.
"Oh, that's that part of me. I'm going to bring her along. I will say to her, you can stay or you can come, but I'm going."
Right. Exactly.
And that's what being a good director of our energy is about, is making those
Right.
kinds of decisions. Yeah.
Yes. Well, one thought that just hit me was when we talk about creativity, and this is going to kind of link into what I teach as through radiant achievement and becoming a radiant achiever, to see this, that it applies to how you live your day to day, right? In all aspects, how you lead.
Mm.
Um, so in what ways are you a leader in your life? You're always a leader of yourself, right?
Right.
How are you
Right.
taking responsibility and leading in your life? Apply the creativity to that. You could be a leader in a business, in your own business, or in a corporation.
Family. Yeah.
Yeah, and I 2 thoughts ago I had this hit of you could be creative to come up with a whole new way to run a meeting, even.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
if you're like, this isn't working, step back and be creative. Like, how can you approach your work from a creative perspective if there's things that are not serving you, or ways that you find yourself frustrated, right? which
Right.
which goes back to maybe some information is a great way. Where are you frustrated in your life? Creativity is a perfect thing to apply to a situation that you're feeling frustration about.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Kind of takes us back a moment, but
No, that's okay. That's
yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
So we talked about time being an obstacle, and yeah, having been so long since we connected. Is there anything else that you want
Yeah,
to?
I would just say that, I think that, sort of like the feminine principle, creativity has been dormant for a long time. So it feels far away and out of reach and unattainable and unavailable in a lot of ways to a lot of us. And we would love to have you be in that inquiry, and to consider that it isn't as far away as it may feel like to you, but that you're sort of awakening something that's already in you. And as we've already done, we really want to just invite you to do whatever is in front of you. Just take your small next step, and your own creative life force will take you in the direction that your life is designed to go, based on your soul and your heart, and what's important to you, not the next person, but you, not the people in the magazine, but you. And so yeah, just realize that it's not as far away or out of reach as it may feel sometimes.
Well said, and a very, very important point to tie this all together. So thank
Yeah.
you for
Perfect.
linking that in. So let's give them a call to action,
I
right?
love
Like,
it. I
we
love it.
want to stir these things up, and then we want you to move forward with making this change in your life, to reawaken, to reengage, and to utilize your creativity as that life force that it is in your life, and to again have it help open your heart and follow your calling, and all the other ways that creativity can bring beauty to your life. So my call to action for everybody is to go to the Radiant Achiever app, and we will have links on how to download that if you haven't as of yet. And in the there will be a journal exercise. If you click on the journal tab, there will be a journal exercise that will be labeled episode 3, Cultivating Creativity, and you will get some time to answer some really thought-provoking questions, and that will allow you to reconnect with and re-engage your creativity
And
and
create that subtle shift in perspective that you were talking about.
exactly, you got it,
Yeah.
Laurie. Yes, and I know you have something also.
I do. So I have there'll be a link for you. I think it's like a 14 or 15-minute video on just playing with actually the idea of doodling in creativity. So it's literally just a piece of printer paper, which this isn't, but in the video it is, and a pen, which everybody has. And just the idea of moving energy in that way, and it's actually subtle, but it can be powerful, and it's just one simple and easy way that you can do, because everybody has paper and pencil at their desk, and just see how it feels for you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. I look forward to doing that exercise and seeing what new comes up for me. So I haven't
Cool.
done it for a while.
And we would love your comments when you answer the journal questions in the app. What's coming up for you, and if you do this creativity exercise, what shows up for you, what shifts, what opens, what new perspective do you see or have for yourself that you were hoping to find?
Yes, absolutely. Would love to hear what's shifting for people, and what new things have bubbled up. So
Yeah,
fantastic.
good. And we have our last episode coming up, so until then, and I guess that is going to be on how to take one step, just put one foot in front of the other toward your heart's calling, your soul's intention, your deep desire, so that you can just keep walking toward that and meet it at some point.
Beautiful.
Over and over, actually.
Over and over, because there will
Yeah.
always be things that are gonna rise up. Yes. So
Good.
fantastic. Well,
Till then,
yes. Till then, everybody, thank you for being part of this, and we look forward to connecting with you throughout the series and beyond. Take care.
ciao.